Oh, great. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I appreciate it. Let me start with something obviously straightforward. AI is not going away anytime soon. I don't think, as we've seen the last 2, 3 years. A lot of people thought maybe it was a trend, but it's certainly not a phase that settles back down. Today, I want to share some practical steps. I'm a non-technical founder. Just as a quick bit of a background, my name's Dale Anderson. I've got Anne on this evening, my beautiful wife, for now 20 plus years, as long as my career in property. Building a marriage is like building a house on solid foundations. So she's here to help me because my technical marketing director is not available today. Normally helps me with this stuff just in case anything goes wrong. As I said, I'm non-technical founder. I've always been creative, always been good with writing. But one thing I've been not great at is obviously the marketing side, generating leads and generating content. Let's get on to the presentation. You can see the screen there, Anne, and I'm going to keep the chat muted just because some people said that open conversation could get distracting sometime. I'd suggest, obviously, we will record this, but to take notes, and hopefully today we can give you some applications that you can go away with and implement into your business. Again, I'm no tech expert, so I'm not yet to teach sort of vibe coding or all the latest tricks or side hustles that's going to make you rich overnight. A little bit of a background. I've been involved in multiple property investment companies. And what I found is the market got challenging during COVID. Companies had huge overheads. Marketing teams were spending thousands of pounds, 50,000 plus just on lead gen and getting in qualified leads into the system, then having to generate, nurture them towards a sale. So it got really challenging. Interest rates went up, and I saw AI had come out, a bit like I got on Google early on. I was very successful with Google in my early career, where everyone was doing like news ads. We were running Google ads, and I built a trading floor with 50 plus to 100 plus staff. However, a couple of years ago, I just decided, you know what? I don't need this monthly pressure and these huge expenses of my UK business. How can I use AI as a tool to reduce my costs? So what's happening right now in 2026, there's a structural shift in how advisory businesses operate. I've stripped everything back, and it's actually said to myself, I'm going to start again, and I want to do it lean, and I want to see where I can integrate AI without losing that human relationship. There's a gap between those who understand this and those who are still waiting to see how it plays out and how it's growing month by month. There's some credentials. I have done some courses on prompt engineering, certified in prompt engineering, and also for AI in real estate, marketing, and finance. But these courses, what I found, are quite generalist. So they'll teach about LLMs and machine learning, but what it didn't really go into was niche. I saw a gap in the market for advisory services, whether that's real estate or whatever you do, online remote work, to bridge that gap. So what I do is take AI, I built it into my operating layer for real estate, and that's in turn allowed me to run a much more lean operating model. I've raised to date more than 1.5 billion pounds in property investments, but I'm not here to brag. I'm here to give you guys value. And of course, I've stripped that back now to reduce my operating expenses. It's a much more relaxed life, and we're using AI. I'm currently on the journey of integrating it into my business, and I want people to join me on that journey so I can show them exactly what we're doing and how you can put that into your business. So we're going to slide 2. AI is becoming an operating layer inside advisory businesses. So to put some context there, where are we actually at, I think, is the question we need to ask. Everyone's getting AI fatigued, right? There's like some stuff that's not even AI. They're saying it's AI. There's a new tech thing coming out every day. There's Claude bots, and now people are going to put things on a Mac and let it run itself. I'm not there for that just yet. I'm here to show you how you can actually implement ChatGPT, Claude, and the basic fundamentals of what you can use for your advisory business. So this is where AI becomes very relevant. How much of your work a week involves tasks that are repetitive, administrative, or could be done faster with better systems? So you either hire a team, you've got a software coder, you need a marketing designer, web designer, and next thing you're talking 5 to 10,000 pound a month. What this allows us to do, from my perspective, AI, number one, it's faster client communication, not because you are rushing, because the friction is gone. Number two, it can reduce admin friction. Obviously, things like emails, the summaries, the follow-ups, We're recording meeting notes now, and then you can send meeting notes around to your organization and track all of that into your CRM automatically. So the parts of your day that consume time without actually generating revenue, because as a founder, right, my number one job is to make sure the business is operating, generating revenue and actually making a profit, right? Because revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. So what we want to do here is, without having to hire a huge operations team, we can streamline things, and then better client readiness, walking into a meeting, having already synthesized key data so we can feed client investor data, for example, and create summaries and reports using ChatGPT alongside Claude. And then the fourth thing is workflow efficiency, doing the same volume of advisory work or more without proportionally scaling your time. So there's two things we want to do: is save time so we can spend more time with our families. And I've got two twin daughters, they're 8 years old now, and it's a joy to know that some of my marketing and operations are taking care of themselves in the background. So here's the challenge: most businesses are still experimenting with AI. There's so many different things coming out. They're trying tools like ChatGPT occasionally and then Claude, but they've not actually built anything. So I think the guys that are really going to make a difference are the companies that are ahead of it and actually integrate it into their operations rather than just using it as like a content generating tool. So we'll go to the next slide. The market data doesn't lie. This was actually data that I was looking at in 2025. Let's give you some context on what's actually happening in the markets, because it's not an antidote. The numbers are quite clear. AI in real estate is already a significant and growing market. Efficiency gains from AI-assisted workflows are being reported consistently across UK advisory firms, and the proportion of advisory business now using AI every single day is rising sharply. You can see there 300 billion AI-driven real estate market. That was 2025, a £1 trillion projected AI real estate market by 2029, and 83% of advisory firms now use AI every day. And the idea is that it will gain 40 to 60% efficiency gains being reported. So technology does not replace human relationships, and this is very important. The market's moving. The question is whether your business is moving with it or watching from the sideline, in my opinion. Technology does not replace humans. It never will, in my opinion, especially salespeople. If I'm buying a property or high ticket investments, I want to be speaking to Dale, not AI Dale. So, but if you can free up your time to do administrative work better, content faster, and at greater scale. So onto slide 4. So what separates the advisors who will lead the next decade from those competing on price and availability? It's not intelligence, it's not effort, not even expertise. It's structure and data, basically. I never realized how important data was. I remember one of my first jobs was a data entry clerk when I moved to the UK with my wife, and about 20 years ago. And I didn't realize, we had 5 of us. I was working for a former group, a big events company, and my job was literally to enter data. So I got really good at typing, and I was like, but I didn't understand, okay, we've got these forms, now we've got to enter the data. So recently, when AI came around, I realized how important data is, because number one, there's better client conversations happening, faster investor readiness to make decisions because of the data we can get to a lot quicker. It used to take me hours to do research. It also reduces admin and more time advising, less time sort of formatting. So the phrase I keep coming back to is this: more time advising, less time formatting, and working with admin. That's the goal. But what happens is we end up going down this AI rabbit hole and actually then losing focus on what matters. So that's a trap I've fallen into as well. So that is the shift, and the advisors who make it now will have an advantage that compounds over time. So from my perspective, we are looking at AI-powered client communication now. So what separates advisors who will lead the next decade from those competing on price and availability? That's the question you need to think of. It's not intelligence, it's not effort, it's not even expertise, though expertise, of course, matter, and common sense, of course. It is structure. So someone like me, at school, I remember they said, don't become an engineer or a plumber, right? Which could probably be a good idea right now with AI coming into play when we think about what our children are going to do. But they said to me, don't ever become an engineer, become a solicitor or someone who does sales, because that's kind of where your strengths are. So I've never really been good at technical stuff, but I've been good at writing and creativity and building marketing and content funnels. So the advisors who've reduced their admin dependency has freed up capacity their competitors simply do not have. This is also helping, things like repurposing newsletters into LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and video content. You can take one research piece, for example, client notes, you could effectively put into ChatGPT and then prompt it. And of course, we will share some of those prompts later on. But you put in the developer investor notes, it creates an AI summary. You can then define your email and then link your WhatsApp to your LinkedIn. So you've touched on various action points very quickly. And that's the shift, and that's the advisors who will make it now and have the advantage. On to the next slide. I wanted to make this concrete clear. One prompt that is a starting point for an entire communication sequence is you can turn a single prompt into a full email or message sequence. You can repurpose a newsletter into a video script, a LinkedIn post, or a WhatsApp summary, and you can maintain a consistent tone across every channel without starting from scratch every time. So the idea is that you want to take one or two master prompts, which I will be, for those who stay or attend the webinar, I'll be providing a prompt playbook, which you can then apply those general prompts. And that will take one piece of content or research and it'll turn it into multiple pieces of content that you can then automatically sequence through the correct CRM structure. So that's the difference. So a couple of frameworks just on the prompt engineering side that I've worked with before is prompting is key when it comes to AI. So the first thing I'd actually learn, because there's quite a lot of courses and things out there, is how to prompt better. Because if you're just putting in there, draft a reply or write me an email, it's going to give you a very generic response. Now, what I realized when I did the course with the University of Pennsylvania is they said you need to train your LLM or your chatbot on your brand guidelines. So any company that starts should really have some sort of tone of voice, brand guidelines, and then throw that into the chat. But as a prompt framework, a couple just that you could take away is Spark. Now, the reason most people get inconsistent results from AI is not the tool, it's the absence of structure and how they're using it. Vague inputs produce vague output every time. So what is Spark? That's structure, purpose, action, result, keywords. So use this when you need a complete, well-shaped prompt that covers the basis. It forces you to think about what you actually want before you ask it, so you start to engage a bit, and then it gives you a better outcome. What is RACE? That's role, action, content, expectation. So this is the fastest framework for advisory work. You assign the AI a role, so like act as a senior marketing director and put together a marketing plan for this month for my specific company, and then you can give it a bit of context and throw in a brochure from a developer, for example. So that's role, action, context, expectation. It's the fastest way to assign a role, tell it what to do, give it the relevant content, and define what the output should look like. Clear, that is context, limits, examples, action, results. So I use this when precision matters most, when you're producing something that will go directly to a client or investor, and the standard has to be quite high. So, you don't want to be sending stuff that's got M dashes and it's clearly written by AI. So it's very important that you train the data and that you start to use the correct prompt frameworks in your workflows. And again, I will be providing a free prompt playbook for those attending. So again, guys, obviously, we can't guarantee results. It's what you're going to put into this is what you're going to get out. And, my belief is if you have a clear roadmap of where you want to go, AI is really going to revolutionize things. It's not the big tech companies that we need to worry about. It's the guys building businesses, young men sitting at home building businesses, and these guys are building million pound value businesses with very minimal budget and tools. So it's scaling through repeatable workflows. Most people think about scaling as hiring, bringing in more people to carry more capacity. Sometimes that's the right answer, but often, and I've done this in the past, it's an expensive mistake you can make, especially if you're hiring the wrong person. You got them on £4,000 or £5,000 a month. I've hired marketing people that at the time weren't interested in AR, maybe because they were worried it's going to take quite some of their work away. But what they should have done is had an attitude of embrace, adopt. So structured investor onboarding, before you hire, you should ask, have I removed every inefficiency from my current operation that I don't need or that can be replaced? And I know it sounds a bit ruthless, but we're dealing with inflation, we're dealing with war in the Middle East, expenses are high and businesses are feeling the pinch. And one way you can help that is by understanding how you can implement AI. So if the answer is no, and for most advisory businesses it is, then you're paying for overhead before you have earned the right to it. Again, you've got all this expense and leads and everything else, but the operating system, which is your foundation, is not actually ready to support those leads coming in because your competitor has a better or quicker system in place. So CRM note enrichment, of course, a well-structured prompt takes your voice note or meeting summary and generates a structured CRM update in 60 seconds, which is unheard of. Meeting summaries into action plans. So we can actually take this Zoom recording now, put it into key summaries and an action plan afterwards of deliverables with clear deadlines, whether you're using Microsoft 365 or Teams. Those tasks can be put in there, or Notion, or whatever your chosen platform is to work from. Structured investor onboarding. Every new investor contact moves through consistent experience, the same information, same quality every time. And I'll be demonstrating a system that we've implemented that automates all of this for you later on. For AI assisted follow-ups, the follow-ups that did not happen because the week got away from you, or maybe your sales guys didn't show up, or one of them was sick. Now you've got a lead sitting there for 24 hours or even 2 days that hasn't been contacted. It's a real bear bug of mine. I do believe instant communication or swift communication is very, very important. So you want to automate, schedule consistently your brand, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that can be systemized. Most businesses are experimenting with AI. Very few are building operating systems around it. And the difference between those two groups will be visible, in my opinion, in the next 12 months. The exciting part, tech stack. So there's a lot of stuff out there at the moment. What am I currently using? I mean, this is really preference. So my understanding from very basic use of the systems and understanding each relatively well, my main go-to is ChatGPT. So let me give you a brief map of the tools I use and recommend, because the question I get most often is, where do we start, or what's the best tool? ChatGPT is a strong foundation. It gives you structured outputs, investor summaries, proposals, CRM workflows. When you need to go from raw information to polished deliverable, it handles it very well. However, we've now got Claude, which gives much more deeper reasoning, long form analysis, and you can create complex PDFs, documents, and you can also build your own landing pages. So what I'm currently learning to do now is actually start to build presentations and landing pages. My wife used to help me with Canva, and I used to have a designer that I paid a few thousand a month. But it's getting to a point where the AI can learn your brand, improve your brand, and then it can actually start to build out landing pages and websites. Of course, there's cybersecurity and technical stuff that your IT guys need to take care of, hosting and things, something to consider. So Cloud's very good for reasoning, due diligence, and strategic thinking. When tasks require more sustained long reasoning, it tends to be stronger. Gemini, I haven't really used much, but I hear it's very good for workspace environments, doc sheets, Gmail. It all connects together naturally. And you've got to understand that these tech guys are all running the race to outpace each other with the best AI tools. So it's always going to be like Google and the main guys. But as you can see, ChatGPT and Claude, there's my thinker. Claude is my operator if I need deeper reasoning or documents or websites, mockups. And then what's really interesting is what I find in the market, especially in real estate and property investments, is it's very fragmented. So we've actually working alongside Ryan and a team in the UK that have started RevStack. And what that is, I plan to go on to Go High Level, because Go High Level is built as a marketing first platform, and I wanted to automate as much of my content as possible. But Go High Level for me wasn't like a CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce, which I was used to. So it needs customization. It's a kind of out of the box solution. So what we've done with RevStack CRM, it's specifically for property advisory workflows. It does deal progression, investor relationship tracking, and follow-up automation, pipeline visibility. And then obviously you can use Zapier, Gravity Forms for automation and to connect using APIs. Zapier and Make, they're automation bridges really. So if you think of them as connectors, when something happens in one system, they trigger an action in another. And this is where your workflow becomes truly automated with these tools that exist. The connections between them are where most businesses are still behind, and actually connecting each system together into one CRM. So that's where RevStack comes in very handy. So AI works best if you capture, organize the workflow, the outputs in the human review, and organize the context. What I want to do quickly is I think I'm just going to do a live demo quickly of RevStack while we're on this that Dean did for us. One of them was going to attend, but Ryan's on holiday. But I really want to just share this quickly with you. Quick demo. Just bear with me.
Hello everyone, hope you're well. My name's Dean and I'm one of the co-founders here at RevStacker. I will try and keep this brief so I'm not taking too much of Dale's time. But yeah, just to give you a quick overview of what RevStacker is, essentially it's an all-in-one sales and marketing platform that's been built and designed for property companies. So whether you're a property sourcer, agent or broker, perhaps you're selling off-plan investments or completed stock, HMOs or rent-to-rents, what this is designed to do is essentially take all of the apps that you might currently be using or should be using and puts it into one place under one login. We obviously lean a lot on AI and workflows and automations to take care of all the menial tasks like admin, but it also ensures that you're not going to have slow responses to leads where you might lose out on deals. You can see here on this lovely little graphic that I did with the help of Claude, most property sourcers, agents, brokers, they normally use a lot of apps on the left. The reason actually we built this system is we were working with Pipedrive, ActiveCampaign, ClickFunnels, Paperforms, Zapier to connect all of these apps. And it was just real clunky. And it was also quite expensive once you started adding all of those subscriptions up. So we have taken all of the best bits of those and put it into one place. And not only, I'd say, made it better, but made it more affordable. But yeah, you can see from the screen here what it replaces. So if you're using Pipedrive or HubSpot or Salesforce or Monday, we've got that within the system. If you're using ActiveCampaign or MailChimp, again, it's in the system. You can replace Calendly with it. You can build landing pages. You can create funnels. You can create forms. You can schedule social media posts. You can run advertising through it. So you can do Meta ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads. You can build hundreds of thousands of workflows to suit your needs. So maybe, as an example, you want a workflow where somebody is replying to a Facebook post. Now, you can set it up, or we can help you set it up, where you are automatically liking that comment, you're responding to the comment, you're sending them a DM, you're pointing them to a landing page where they're going to fill a form in, they're going to tell you what their criteria is, and then that goes onto the CRM system. It all gets tagged up. So maybe they're not going to be the buyer for you right there and then, but let's say they inquired on Manchester and they've got £100,000 to invest, in 3 months' time, all of a sudden you've got a block of apartments to help sell and it's in Manchester and they need 100,000. You can pull up a list of all the relevant contacts, send them an email, which would be templated as well, and then that would automatically send them the brochure packs and the financials, etc., etc. But you can create it or curate it how you like. So you can mold it to your business, into your own style, and to your own the way that you talk and the way that you present things. And yeah, Obviously, Dale's going to go on a lot about how AI can help. So you can also leverage AI to help you compose the emails, to make you the landing pages, to build you the websites, to create funnels and forms, and essentially create a system where you're capturing leads, and these leads aren't being left to rot and decay, and you're not going to be losing them to elsewhere. So I hope that's a nice little intro. I tried to keep it under 4 minutes. But yeah, if you are interested in learning how RevStacker can help your business, reach out to Dale, and then yeah, we can book a demo call in so we can understand what your business is like and how we can align the strategies, as they say in the corporate world. But yeah, thanks for your time.
As mentioned, the check stack, that's kind of what we are looking at. But the great thing about ChatGPT is really its ability to capture information, organize text, and create workflow, generate output. And then from there, of course, there's a lot more that it's capable of. When thinking about AI, you need to capture information, organize the context, create a workflow, and from there, of course, work with the context that you have to get the best possible output. In terms of what that means in practice, is you want to go into obviously ChatGPT. Obviously this is possible, the most important slide of the session, really. There's a reason most people get inconsistent results from AI. Sometimes brilliant, sometimes mediocre, sometimes completely off. The reason is not the tool, it's the absence of the structure. Think of it as 5 stages. You capture information, number 1. Number 2, you've got to organize the context before generating anything. The AI needs to understand the situation. Who is the client? What is the objective? What tone should it reflect? And then you create a workflow, a prompt framework that once is used for, one built into repeatable workflows, powerful. What I've done is build a master prompt guidelines, or Bible as you call it. And then that's a repetitive prompts that I could use within the workflow. But a disclaimer, always there should be human review. That's non-negotiable. AI produces good content, but always, I think, someone who understands copyright or content, or at least yourself as the founder, to check it and read through it and make edits accordingly. We'll go on to the next slide. Slide 11. I want to address something directly because it comes up in almost every conversation I have about AI. The concern is AI is going to replace advisors. My answer to that is no, and not because I'm being reassuring, because the evidence points elsewhere. What AI replaces is not expertise. What AI replaces is friction. The friction between having knowledge and producing a deliverable, between a great call and a follow-up email, and between understanding a market and communicating that understanding clearly. The advisors who understand the nuance of cross-border transactions, who has relationship capital built over years, who can read a room and adjust accordingly, that's not replaceable. I don't care like what AI comes and tells me or how accurate it is. It's all about relationships, meeting people on the golf course, or wherever it may be, shaking hands. I'm not good at golf. I'll be the caddy, so that's fine. But I do still believe human relationships are integral, and that AI is simply a marketing assistant, a tool. The advisor can now operate at a level of efficiency that would have required a team of support staff 5 years ago. That would have went into the thousands of pounds, which you can now run on a few £100 a month. Think of AI as a digital team member, research assistant, marketing assistant, your operations assistant, and a sales assistant. What you can do is set up projects, which I'll go into shortly, for each of those, and you can create personas for each of those and assign a role. So each time you need your research assistant, you jump to your research assistant. If you need sales support, you can go onto that actual channel or project or whatever custom bot you've created. The other benefits is, and again, obviously to get very concrete on slide 12, is I want you to leave today with a clear picture of what you can do, say like even tomorrow morning maybe. I'm going to throw 8 daily use cases. As I do, mentally tick off the ones that feel immediately relevant to your business. Perhaps even 2 or 3 implemented consistently will change how you operate. One is objection handling is a big one. You feed the context into AI before difficult client conversation, you can walk in more prepared. So the client might have an objection about the current market conditions or interest rates. What you do is you give a persona, act as a senior market research analyst. You could even go into a context at JLL or Knight Frank level and do some senior market research on this particular objection and back it with data. What a lot of salespeople do is they sell, right? But what we can do now is use the data to support and overcome the objections. Number two is follow-up drafting. A 30-second voice note moving to AI workflow produces a draft. We covered that previously. Meeting notes in the CRM summarized. Again, I think we've actually gone through that. I'll jump ahead. Investor intros, deal summaries, objection handler, urgency builder, follow-up email, LinkedIn post, and diligence summary. So the great thing about it, really, what I've been enjoying is due diligence, because what I find is that you can use due diligence prompts, throw in brochures, developer information. What used to take me weeks of research, and it's very important, because if you don't do your due diligence and the deal goes bad, it's your reputation on the line, right? It's great at checking the background of the developers. There's some really good prompts that I can share with regards to due diligence, deal summaries. These are not generic templates. Each one is structured to reflect a specific stage in the advisory relationship and the commercial objectives. Something worth noting, these frameworks are adaptable across markets, so you can use them in UK, South Africa, UAE, Europe, because people have different cultures. So you got to also explain, okay, this person is based in Dubai. This is their concerns about this particular market. And what I can also do is throw in brochures, floor plans, price lists, ask it to actually identify and choose the best units. So it's getting really smart at things that it couldn't do before. It's creating a lot better images, and it helps with the process of follow-ups as well. So a couple of things for me. I do believe AI, we need to be very careful. In the wrong hands, it could possibly the internet, and like many revolutionary things in the past, I believe we are in a revolution with AI, but just like the AI internet bubble of the early 2000s, perhaps maybe bigger. But I want to slow it down here, because I think this is the most underrated conversation in the AI space. Most AI sessions talk about efficiency, output, and automation. I want to talk about something else. How you use AI says something about what you believe about your clients, about your profession, and about your integrity as well, because there is a lot of AI slop out there and people just posting stuff which, it's not been thought through. It needs to be used ethically and with integrity, especially when it comes to things such as cybersecurity. So my belief is that AI should support trust, not replace it. It should make you a better advisor, not a faster one at the expense of accuracy, not a more prolific one at the expense of honesty. So people over profit, long-term trust outperforms short-term tactics every time, from my experience. Truth over hype, your analysis should be honest and research-led. So you need to stress test the output, because it does hallucinate. And I've had this happen. In fact, earlier I sent out an email and it got the times wrong for South Africa and UK. So be careful, check it that it doesn't get things wrong. Stewardship, you're managing decisions that affect people's capital, their futures, their family in some cases. So that responsibility does not get delegated to a language model. And we can go, oh, the AI told me. That is our accountability of how we use AI moving forward. And I think the market rewards clarity. It also rewards character, and no AI tool can substitute either of those. But AI used well makes you a better, more credible, more consistent advisor. It works in services of your value, not as a replacement for them. So that's my take. So how AI transforms an advisor's workflow. On slide 15, I want to show you before and after, because this is the most honest way to sort of illustrate what we're talking about. Before, you had manual processes with due diligence and onboarding products. Before, we had fragmented communication between teams. I run a team between London and Cape Town. I've got some team members in Asia and agent partners in Turkey. So everything was disfragmented. There's things on Google Drive, Dropbox. Like, where's the information? There's a couple of companies that have portals. So it's fragmented. Everything's all over the place. Lost follow-ups. high admin burden as well. Next thing you've got accountants and operations managers and purchase progression managers and various things. So I'm not saying take away from that. If anything, if those people can learn AI, they can probably do their jobs a lot better. So what's the after, if you spend hours per week spent on tasks that generate no direct revenue, that's not going to help. So after centralized workflows, faster communication, not rushed, structured, prepared in advance, better client readiness, and you're in a better position as an advisor to give more accurate data. So that's not theoretical transformation. I've seen this happen in real business with real advisors. I've advised clients, multiple clients now, a large wealth management firm and also a boutique small property company, Lucy, who's dealing with this niche sector, and we've really helped within a few weeks roadmap to get the website launched, to get the CRM up and running, and an operating business which used to take months, you can now do within a few weeks using AI. So slide 16, we'll do some demos. This is the part I personally find the most valuable, seeing practice removes the abstraction entirely. I'm going to show you some workflows, not a magic trick, a workflow you could replicate in your business this week. So a scenario, for example, you've come off a call with an investor interested in a UK property investment or commercial property. You've taken down your rough qualifying notes, you've got your key context, and then I'm going to start a screen share there. I want to show you this because, that's obviously just one example of what can be done. Let me go to ChatGPT. A great prompt that you could use as part of the live demo. I've actually created my notes with it just to give something concrete. So objection handling is one that we could use. And let me put that in the chat quickly. That's one such prompt I could take and I could run, but it depends on the client's obvious requirements. So we could put that in there, and then I could say the client profile, client has a concern about stamp duty tax in the UK. I've acted as a senior sales strategist for real estate advisory business. Give it some context. Client profile, John, budget 200k, service offered, buy to let in Manchester, concerns raised, tax in UK and government policy, which is a concern right now for a lot of people. And that's why I've also got properties in different markets, but the long term, the UK market's quite sound. And then, you can run that prompt and it will help you address the objection, and it'll start to give you a bit of a output of what you can do there. But what I've also done is I've got a project for each company, and then I train it so it gives me the right answers there. So that's just one such example. And then we've also got a few more here that, again, I will be sharing afterwards. But for example, objection handling, prompt 2, follow up email draft. You can take the client's qualifying criteria, throw it into the chat, and then it could give you some notes there. And then you could turn that into authority post and say, I had an objection today, act as a LinkedIn ghostwriter for senior advisor in real estate and investment, and turn the following into a thought leadership post. I then actually, sometimes if I really like the topic, you can even turn it into a newsletter and then automate that into your workflow. Due diligence, again, review the attached investment memorandum prospectus. I'll take the brochure, all the due diligence files, can throw it in there and then ask it to score it, give key risks, red flags, financial assumptions. You can throw in financials to check the financials are correct. That used to take me hours and hours. I was a project manager. Well, I started in sales and then I worked my way up into project manager role. My job was to collate all the information, do some due diligence, and then also organize all the material into folders whilst also selling. So I like to do a few things, but that was one of them. And it took a lot of time. And it just now where it used to take me weeks to organize a project launch, we can do all the due diligence within a matter of seconds. I also wanted to, while we're on that, show you the system we're using. Can you see the RevStack there, Anne? Just checking. Cool. This is a CRM. I've moved away from HubSpot and we've gone to RevStack, who we can arrange a consultation for. And Go High Level, really, what I like about it is the platform is designed specifically, well, this one specifically for our business, and you can build it around what it is that you require. It's got so many cool tools in. We are, myself, Anne, and Rudy is my marketing director, working on it and customizing it. But what we're going to have is a niche system, because one thing we got frustrated with in the market was you get this HubSpot and Salesforce, but it's not really niche for what we do. You want something really simple for sales guys. As you can see, just as a quick sort of demo, you've got a launch pad where you can literally connect everything. You can connect your WhatsApp, Stripe, WordPress, or anything else you want. You've got your sales dashboard for management, and then you can see what opportunities have come in. Again, this is all customized. You can then check after sales, agent onboarding, client nurturing. We're in the beta phase, but it's really like so simple. Myself and Anne have started using it. And again, as a non-technical advisor, it pulls in through all the leads. I've then got my opportunities, and again, customized to show sales pipeline, agent onboarding, after sales, and then you can build it out yourself, customize it how you want it. So if that's of interest, just put in the chat RevStack, and we'll make sure someone gets in touch with you to demo the product. But I've compared HubSpot, Salesforce, and for what I do, this is a really cool, amazing platform. It's got AI agents in there as well. It tells you about not missing any calls, anything. It can do automated, you can set up automated voice calls, automated WhatsApps. It's got a marketing suite which your sales guys can use. It's really easy to use. And what you can do then is connect your Facebook, your Instagram, Threads, or any accounts. What you can actually do, and this is something I don't actually do, sometimes I'm quite like sporadic and I post there and I post here. What we're doing now is we're building in advance. So you film your video content, you spend half a day or day just doing content. Then you spend half a day doing all your month's content in ChatGPT or Claude. You then put it into RevStack or Go High Level, and that will automate and sequence everything for the whole month. I can be out with eating dinner with the family, on the beach with the kids, and I've got my funnel replaying and my digital assets going out. What's very interesting as well is you can build digital assets, and those digital assets effectively as a company now, they become your intellectual property. People never really used to understand. I believe in excellence. I like to do things to a high standard, and marketers sometimes, oh, it's fine, just keep it plain and simple. But really, what you want to do is have a system that shows that you're organized, there's excellence, and you can start to schedule things yourself. Again, it takes away that layer of having marketing people, bureaucracy as such in the corporate ladder and getting things signed off. You do everything yourself from here. It takes back a bit of control, automations, memberships. I won't go into too much detail on RevStack, but it's a great solution and it's customized specifically for our sector. So if you're interested in that, just put in RevStack in the chat. I'll get back onto the presentation. That's it really for the live demo side. There are other demos that I'll be putting together. The main thing is it will keep all clients' sensitive data anonymized. This is very important. You need to use AI responsibly. It's not about just building landing pages and getting leads. You need to make sure you avoid uploading certain documents like ID documents or financial documents. These are things you must consider to make sure it's used responsibly. You need to independently verify and cross-check all AI outputs, especially like some people say, well, I don't need a lawyer now, right? That's great. So yes, you can do your AI, act as a senior legal solicitor and check things. But ultimately, there are still regulatory bodies involved in the UK. There's the Ombudsman, there's the Office of Fair Trading Standards. You need things checked and signed off still. However, AI is quite new. I think the government's trying to play catch up with regulation, but we suggest operate fully within your regulatory obligations, or you might, I don't want to get anyone into trouble. So use AI as a support, not the final decision maker. AI should never replace regulated financial advice. We're not qualified or FCA regulated, and I make that very clear within all the material. Human reviews required. In some cases, you may need an accountant or you may need someone, a lawyer, to check things. Or for you, keep client data protected at all costs. Your data is your gold bond. And more than ever, we need to take that very seriously. A couple of real workflows just on what we can do with RevStack are, again, is you can convert WhatsApp voice notes into investor summaries, draft quick client replies, automate workflows, and then emails. Obviously, not to repeat, we can build campaigns, nurture flows, project deal summaries, warm introductory emails, and then LinkedIn, which is again my third content pillar, is weekly content planning, carousels you can create now, even in chat. It does tag them as AR, so sometimes it's good to put it into Canva and then it doesn't show it as AR. It's getting better though. The image generation has just had an upgrade. The technical side, I don't know that well, but the upgrades are huge, and it just means that things are starting to improve. But I always ask it to check things over and over and like be ruthless, refine this, check this as a senior graphic designer. Are there any mistakes? Don't just take what it gives you and post it, because it does make mistakes. Typical advisor impact. The main thing really is faster turnaround. I have successfully reduced my operating expenditure by over 50%, and I believe I'll still be getting similar, if not better results. Less repetitive admin, more consistency across brand and tone guidelines. You need a system where everybody's working off the same channels, ideally. So if you're running a business of, say, 10 or 15 staff, what you don't want is everybody just ad hoc using their own chat. You want a trained channel or branded, guided project channel that then is shared with your staff, and you give access to them. For whether they're on the sales team or admin, you give them certain rights, but you need them really working from one channel, because that's your brain for the company. What you don't want is now everyone's going away and they're using all these tools, and now you've got all this different messaging, which is inconsistent. Improved client responses, increased advisor capacity. There's 4 AI employees. Just don't want this to go on too long, but we're almost there, so bear with us. I lost my notes again, but that's fine. Your 4 AI employees is basically your research analyst. And again, this is where it becomes a digital team member. Research analyst, I used to have a research analyst, pay them a few thousand a month. They'd put together investment market reports, market insights, comparables, neighborhood analysis. That can be done by AI now. The second thing is a marketing assistant. So think of it as like a junior marketer, not a marketing director level person that can post emails and social media. Operations is great. Like Claude's really cool for setting standard operating procedures, workflows, and setting up automations. Be careful of the tokens, because the tokens you can upgrade to pro in those tokens if you use it too much. But there are ways to manage that. And then sales assistants for follow-up scripts, objection handling. So if you've got junior sales guys, for example, you can build your digital library, put it all into RevStack, and they've got everything, all the standing operating procedures in place, and they've got their own research analyst, ops assistant, and marketing assistant on hand 24/7 through the AI. Very simple. My thoughts are the advisors that understand AI, especially for cross-border transactions, you know how to read a room. Humans can read a room. AI can't really. That's not replaceable by a language model. But the advisor can now operate at a level of efficiency that would have required a team support staff of maybe 4 or 5 in the past, marketing department wise, administration, and customer service. How the workflow connects. This is very important because, again, I mentioned it's an ecosystem that needs to connect. You've got ChatGPT and Claude. You train it on your brand tone voice model. You then connect it to either RevStack CRM, HubSpot, or Salesforce. Obviously, now these companies that are really like the small guys who are building and beta testing these software. I've met some really amazing guys, Lenlord, Sam Smith at PropServe, just to put a name out there, and then Ryan and Dean at RevStack CRM. I was going to build this and go high level, and then I got hold of them through one of my consulting clients, and they'd already been building it for months. That saved me weeks of time, and it's very cost efficient as well. That will connect your WhatsApp. You can use Just Call, maybe. That's one suggestion. I use Just Call. It does automating dialing. You can throw in call lists, and you just click and it calls 3, 4, 5 people at a time, or sends out multiple messages at a time. So that's pretty cool. But of course, that's warm inbound leads that we've paid for. And then Brevo, you don't really need Brevo if you've got RevStack, but if you're just starting out and you want to really In fact, I just used Brevo for this webinar because it's really cheap. And I wanted to show you that you don't need expensive software. You can use Brevo email to set up your emails in there. You can put HTML code, you can manage and segment lists, and it's really easy to use. But again, if you've got something like HubSpot or RevStack, you won't need that. And then Zapier, Gravity Forms is that other side of it. Of course, the technical stuff is like Next, React. We can go into Figma and all of that, but I'm not technical. Now, the secret sauce, which I'm very excited with, is I'm working on something called launchprop.io. And what all that will be is a platform that you can use as a beta tester. If that's something of interest, just put launchprop in the comments. It will be ready in a couple of months, but part of that is it'll be a system where all your property investments options, all your stock, all your inventory will sit. Nothing will be fragmented anymore. You can white label it with your logo, and then you'll have all your project information in there. And then when you launch a project, your clients can go in, they can click reserve, see the price, the service charge. You give access to investors, developers, agents, and partners. We have a proprietary software coming out. Very exciting, but I don't want to go, we'll go into more of that. I'm going to be holding one of these maybe once a month because the market's just, ours is changing so rapidly. I had to update the slide because I did it like 2 months ago, actually. So I needed to update that, but LaunchProp's coming. We're very excited because that'll automate your marketing and centralize all your projects, and it'll have an AI integration as well. What am I saying today? What I can do to help? Obviously, I love adding free value, but of course, we also want to pay the bills. I can offer AI consulting where I can help you set up tools and prompt frameworks. I've demonstrated this with some clients now. We've had some very good results. That could include setting up your landing pages, your website if you need help with it. We're also outsourcing some stuff to Cape Town, South Africa, so you're not having to speak to someone in a different time zone in the Philippines or India. No offense, I do work with some amazing Indians and Filipinos, but we can outsource things, build websites, landing pages, and get you set up by week 2. Connect your CRM and automate your first workflow. Week 3, build a system, test outputs, refine, and measure your results. So again, that's something, AI is something I'm very passionate about. I've learned as much as I could about it. I think what we want to do is really just understand from this session a basic level of how you can set it up within your advisory business. I will open up for questions, but I just want to bring it back to where we started. We're in 2026. AI is not something you can afford to watch from the sideline. I think it's a life-changing opportunity. I think it could be a life-changing, I like to see the optimistic side of it. It's going to help a lot of people who don't have huge budgets to start companies, who can now start businesses and earn money, especially in countries like where I've lived half my life in the UK, half my life in South Africa. If you bring AI and you give a kid at school and you teach them the tools, if they're from like an impoverished area and they know how to use AI, it could change their lives because they don't need the intensive capital requirements they needed. So that's the way I see it. I will open up now I'll stop sharing, and then if you just want to put in any questions in the chat. There will be a replay going out, by the way. But if you do want to book in a consultation, you can obviously just book it in directly with me. I'll put my Zoom booking link in the chat. And then what we can do is a free sort of 10 to 15 minute audit on your business. Let me just find the link. So yeah, there's a lot more I wanted to show there. Of course, that we could go more into detail, but that's why I want to book the consultation. Then I'm not going to charge anything. I could just understand exactly with your company what exactly is beneath the bonnet of the car, and then from there we can, prices can really depend on what the objective is. But the whole idea of it is to reduce your operating expenses by 30 to 40%. Here's the link. So you can book it in there, or you can just go to my website. I do have a technical team I work with, just so you know. I'm partnered with Accordial Gene, a chap in Portugal, can build software, custom software for you if you need. I've got a really smart guy that does AI visibility, Felix. not expensive. So he's built his own custom AI visibility SEO software. And then I've got a really great team. I've outsourced some stuff to Cape Town. It's cheaper and there's some really impressive stuff being done. So anything from landing pages, marketing funnels, CRMs, we can help. Booking a call, if that's of interest. If you want to put in any questions in the chat, feel free to do so. From Ricardo, yeah, I agree. As the future, no doubt. It's incredible what he can do. I totally agree with that. And then, yeah, some common one question, yeah. Which prompt framework should I start with? Which is easiest to learn? So Race is the fastest to learn and the most practical way for daily advisory work. Role action, so assigning a persona, act as a senior sales strategist or act as a CEO. I even say sometimes act as someone on Dragon Den, a dragon, and check out my post or my business plan and be ruthless, So that's really stress testing it. It can be a yes man. So what I find is you need to challenge it because otherwise it's just going to agree with, you're going to go start businesses because the AI told you it's a good idea. So just stress test that. Let me see if there's any other questions. Do these workflows work across different markets? So yes, as I mentioned, the frameworks themselves are market neutral. What changes is the tone, the regulatory reference, and the market-specific data you feed in. The structure of the prompt stays consistent whether you're working with UK investor, South African buyer, or anybody, client in Dubai. But what I love about AI as well is it can translate. So now we're not struggling as much with the language. Like I can target investors in China and I can build a chatbot that speaks in Chinese, but I don't speak Chinese. So of course, I mean, the human relationship, if it works, great, then I'll hire someone locally in Beijing. But the point is we have that ability now to also translate language and voice agentic AI, as well as, various other forms of LLMs and AI. So I hope that helps. Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate that. Yeah, so it's been quite interesting one. It's one of my first ones on AI. What I'm trying to do is build a community. So if you want to subscribe to my free newsletter on the daleanderson.co.uk website, building a community of people in prop tech AI who are sort of passionate about it as I am. And we can meet every few weeks or month, have a chat, answer questions, but I will run regularly once a month a session where we can do some practical frameworks. On the next session, we'll actually go into more of the technical side of things, and I'll get some guests on that can teach you about AI visibility, how lead generation is changing, and how this is transforming the market. But as I said, data is key. Like if you've got sitting on a lot of data, it can score your data for you, it can organize your data for you, and it can reconnect with your data for you, data that you think maybe is old, and instead of getting 5 junior guys calling through, you can automate all of that as well. So I've got people who can also help with that. So without further ado, I hope that helps and that's given you something to go away with of value. You can download the free AI advisor guide, prompt framework, tool stack, and workflow templates in one document. In fact, one last thing I want to show just before we leave, just before we go, very cool. Can you see Claude there, Anne? You can't see it. Okay, hold on. Let me share screen. Right. So I finally upgraded. What Claude can do is actually build out landing pages. So I've built this out, which was kind of like just something I was working on last night. If we go to, this is probably going to be easier to see it. Here we go. So screen. You can see that, Anne, that page that we built there. Yeah, cool. Practical toolkit for AI-driven advisory business. I'm not a coder, and I asked ChatGPT to give me a prompt for digital toolkits that I'm building and for a webinar offer. This is what it's produced for me. So I use ChatGPT to make the prompt, and then I use Claude to code this HTML code. What I'll be offering is for webinar attendees, £67. You'll get immediate access to a full stack of digital assets. I just wanted to give you an example of what this thing can do. We'll have our prompt Bible, real estate marketing prompt library, investor updated templates, our workflow maps. I'm giving all of this it's valued at 497. I get access for £67. I'll send this around. It's not just for tonight, but I wanted to show you I built something, a whole landing page, which I can now just basically, you can build these in 1 or 2 minutes. I think that's the big takeaway there. And we'll share this post webinar. There will be a replay as well. Please feel free to share it with your friends or family or whoever's in the industry. And we do work on, of course, referral fees and affiliate as well. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Have a good evening and take care. All the best.